प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी और उनका पर्सनल इंटरवेंशन
विदाउट द इंटरवेंशन ऑफ प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी इट वुडंट बी आज हम आपके सामने खड़े नहीं हो रहे होते।
भारत माता की जय, भारत माता की जय, भारत माता की जय।
These Indian Navy veterans were so close to the gallows, jailed and accused of spying in Qatar, facing death with an unfair sentence. Foreign affairs experts had even said back then that these charges looked baseless from the start and seemed like a larger conspiracy against India. These men were put behind bars for 18 agonizing months. From then to today, they are back home reuniting with their families. What a moment, really. India woke up to the pleasant surprise that Qatar had released all 8 men, because for the longest time it seemed there was no hope for return. The Ministry of External Affairs said in a statement, and I quote it here, "The Government of India welcomes the release of 8 Indian nationals working for the Dara Global Company who were detained in Qatar. 7 out of 8 of them have returned. We appreciate the decision by the Emir of the State of Qatar to enable this release and homecoming of these nationals." So then let's track their roller coaster journey. 7 officers and 1 sailor. Captain Navtej Singh Gill, Captain Birendra Kumar Verma, Captain Saurabh Vashisht, Commodore Amit Nagpal, Commodore Purnendu Tiwari, Commodore Sugunakar Pakala, Commodore Sanjeev Gupta and Sailor Ragesh. In August 2022, a dark cloud loomed, accused of espionage in a foreign land, with their loyalty questioned and freedom stolen. Qatar's intelligence agency captured these 8 Indian nationals, but no charges were made against them in public domain by Qatar. There was absolutely no clarity on this case and what exactly happened. Then it got worse. In October 2022, the men were charged officially with the crime of spying, allegedly, on a submarine. The stage was set for a harrowing ordeal against them. This was a foreign land, remember, that has a strict punishment for spying allegations. Imagine the shock and then a realization that there may not be any coming out of this. But by March 2023, the wheels of justice started to move but were very slow. Qatari laws are very strict and are unrelenting. India was trying its best to coordinate with the authorities. And then came the horrifying big verdict. In October 2023, Qatar's Court of First Instance pronounced the death sentence for the 8 men. It sent shockwaves across India, helplessness and prayers. India expressed officially deep shock at the death sentence given by Qatar's Court of First Instance and pledged to look at all legal options possible. Remember, even now in the public domain, there was very little clarity on what really was happening in Qatar against these Indian nationals.
I can only assure him we have been seized of the matter. Our ambassador, senior officials have been in continuous touch with the Qatari government on this. Our effort is obviously to ensure that they are not treated unfairly and that if the sooner we can bring them back home.
Now the pressure was also building. India had to do something or soon we would lose these men by the next month. November 2023, Prime Minister Narendra Modi-led Indian government filed an appeal against the death sentence. External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi declared that the appeal process is underway and has stated that the government was anticipating positive outcome from Qatar. 10 days later, on 26th of November, the Qatari court accepted India's appeal to study further, and that's about it. Amid all of this, an interesting development takes place. In December 2023, listen closely, Prime Minister Narendra Modi meets Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani on the sidelines of the COP28 summit in Dubai. While officially the details that are put out are about bilateral issues and welfare of the Indian community, but the experts believe this was the moment when some talks appear to have happened. Did this change the position of Qatar? Because just 2 days after Prime Minister Modi and Al Thani met, the Indian ambassador to Qatar, Vipul, got the first consular access to meet the 8 Indians in prison. From August 2022 to December 2023, first official access. And then came the big relief. On 28 December, an appellate court in Qatar commuted the death sentence of these 8 Indian veterans and reduced their punishment, which was earlier the death sentence, to the jail terms. Many of us thought, this is it, cannot get better than this. In January then, the Court of Appeal gave 60 days to appeal against the varying prison terms to these men. This is when the government appears to have swung faster into action. They realized there is still hope for more for these men. A judgment was eventually delivered, but the details were not put out. The External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal told a regular media briefing that the legal team aiding the 8 men had received a copy of the verdict, but it was a confidential document and the details cannot be put out. And as the sun rose on 12th February 2024, as I started to compile my morning news bulletin for the telecast, we noticed the arrival of these men and then the Ministry of External Affairs statement. Till these men had touched down, not much was being revealed. But when they did and when the official confirmation came, it felt like India erupted in joy, at least on social media. These men were seen smiling, speaking, shouting Bharat Mata Ki Jai, triumphant echoes of freedom and an acknowledgement of the effort that was put for their release. All 8 men, veterans of the Indian Navy, once shackled by injustice, now standing tall and proud as they touch down the national capital and are then embraced later by their family members. Remember, we have seen instances where not many have been so lucky on a foreign soil. Also remember that 7 have returned for now, 1 is eagerly awaited. In all of this, what did you notice? Less talk, more work. There was always a step-by-step effort and progress, a lot happening behind closed doors. And then emerged the emotional reactions of the family members. When I spoke to K.R. Nair, who's the father-in-law of one of the Navy men, Ragesh, here's what he said. That they have been able to come out only because of Prime Minister Modi. Modi ki jai, he said. This was not a political statement or a rhetoric, but an emotional response. His family member was saved and he believed it was done because at the top leadership an intervention was made. Here is what Foreign Affairs expert Robinder Sachdev said about the back channel talks that possibly happened. Because remember, to even come on the table to discuss, India has that clout now on the global stage and with Qatar, which is not an easy country to work with in the first place.
Okay, fair enough. We got these folks back home. There must have been some deal. Qatar would not have, see, each nation in the hard world of diplomacy, you give some, you take some, right? So whatever the deal would have been, we do not know. Okay, but that deal would have been only possible because of India's position now in world affairs. Okay, we are in a position to give you something in order to get what we want. And we can give you something only because we are a newer India, a more proactive India in world affairs and international forums.
Let's talk big numbers now. Qatar is the largest supplier of liquefied natural gas to India, accounting for over 50% of India's global LNG import. Qatar's key export to India include LNG, LPG, chemicals and petrochemicals, fertilizers included. While India's key exports to Qatar include cereals, copper articles, iron, steel articles, vegetable fruits, spices, and also construction material, textile, garments, precious stones and rubber, among others. Union Minister Hardeep Singh Puri had recently said, and I quote him here, Qatar is India's largest and reliable supplier of LNG and LPG. During financial year 22-23, hydrocarbon trade between India and Qatar was about $14.8 billion, accounting for 78.8% of overall bilateral trade. My research shows India and Qatar's bilateral trade reached $18.77 billion in 22-23. In which Qatar's export to India take most of the chunk at about 16.8 billion. India is among the top 4 largest export destinations for Qatar, and it's also among the top 3 sources of Qatar's import. So India is a country that Qatar cannot ignore at all. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Qatar in 2016, after Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh's visit in 2008, is seen as the highest level engagement between the two countries. What started as India-Qatar Defence Cooperation Agreement in 2008 to now as defence cooperation that it stands is an important pillar of the bilateral trade between the two countries. What else could have possibly worked for us? Perhaps a realization that not just India is a rising power, but how the large, accomplished and highly regarded Indian community in Qatar is making an important contribution to Qatar's progress and their economy, thereby also building a bridge. There are over 7 lakh Indian nationals residing in Qatar. They comprise the largest expatriate community in Qatar and are engaged in a wide spectrum of professions including medicine, engineering, education, finance, banking, business, apart from the blue-collar jobs. They are highly regarded for their honesty, hard work, qualifications and contribution to the development and progress of Qatar. You should know that during the FIFA World Cup 2022, thousands of Indian workers and professionals participated in their infrastructure building and maintenance. Nearly 5,700 Indian volunteers who supported the successful conduct of the tournament as per the Indian ambassador. And not just the Indians based in Qatar, but Indian faces like superstar Shah Rukh Khan was recently seen being greeted by Qatari Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman bin Jassim Al Thani. The actor was invited as a special guest of honor. Films and entertainment can act as a cultural living bridge between the two countries. As I conclude, remember the critical, mocking voices toward India that said, "Oh, India cannot even get their own men back. They're stuck in Qatar. What sort of a diplomacy is this? These men are left to die. India is just about loud and boasting while their men are on a death row." Look, India did get the men back, safe and sound. As they touched down Delhi, they gave all of us a reason to smile and a reminder that when we decide to put all efforts in focus, the best legal team, to the best diplomacy, to politics, to the Indian diaspora's contribution, India will have to be acknowledged by the world. Thank you for watching.